straight pride. Man, woman, child.
I'm talking about nation building, I'm talking about raising children.
Straight pride. Man, woman, child.
I'm talking about nation building, I'm talking about raising children.
Straight pride. Man, woman, child. Yeah, straight pride. Man, woman, child. Yeah, straight pride. Man, woman, child.
I'm talking about nation building, I'm talking about raising children.
Family, the backbone of the nation, along with spirituality, culture, and education. Your Negro president supporting abomination. Abomination, this is an abrasion. The black family needs saving.
That it is not an individual situation that we're facing. It is a collective assault where the African personality, the black personality, black culture is being undermined. The psychology of the black man is being undermined. The very idea that the black man is for the black woman and that the black woman is for the black man is being so undermined that when and if we don't necessarily believe that two men should be together, we still don't believe a black man should be with a black woman. So it becomes more acceptable for a black man to be with a white female or an Asian female or a Hispanic female or any female that is not a black woman, and vice versa. It has only been in the last 20 years that I've seen it become normal in black communities. For black women to think it acceptable to date, marry, or be in intimate relationships with men who are not black. And so now, on a regular basis, we see black women dating and in intimate relationships with white males, Hispanics, Asians, and anybody that will lay down with her. And so we see that the full fabric of the black community is being destroyed. And it's getting even deeper now because it's going to the level on the elementary grade school level, where our children are being indoctrinated with the idea that genocide is good for black people. The idea that black men and black women should not come together and produce families like we've done for millenniums, that it consists of a strong black man and a strong black woman in committed relationships building strong black families. And as a result, the complete fabric of the black community is falling apart. Our whole racial context is falling apart. And the basic identity of being black, of being African, and loving oneself, that concept is almost completely void in young people from 5 years old to 15. If you ask them, are they proud to be black? They don't even want to identify with being black, much less proud to be black. If you ask them, are they proud to be African, much less, they don't even want to identify with Africa and can't make the relationship between being black and being African and having self-respect and having dignity. And much of this is occurring by the miseducation they're getting in preschool, in the school system that's destroying their minds. So brothers and sisters, it is our responsibility to take our children out of the teeth of their enemies who are trying to ensure that our children can't compete with their children, and to teach our children what they need to know to be competitive in the 21st century. I want to thank you for listening. We appreciate you taking the time to consider what we have to say to you, and we're asking you, do the right thing, be responsible, pull your children out of these sick environments of this school system and start healthy, straight, black, proud environments to educate your African black children for the 21st century. Straight, black, proud, brothers and sisters.
My first thought is what Malcolm X said about only a fool would allow his enemy to educate his children.
Yeah.
And this is prime example of why that statement was stated, and that was 50 plus years ago, and we still haven't learned. And I think we all can remember sometime, I know I can, when I was in school. In fact, I was in 10th grade history class, and the European teacher stood up there and And I sat there and he talked about Mesopotamia and he talked about Egypt for about 5 minutes. So somehow Mesopotamia had preceded Egypt and his discussion. And then he just went past that straight to Greece, and there's a big giant, there's Africa sitting there on the map.
Right.
And there is no discussion of anything happening in Africa for that whole semester. And I just felt so dehumanized with no history. We have a world history class. He's talking about all these places on the map and stuff I never heard of. And at that point by now, didn't care about. And that was one of the worst grades I ever got in school, my whole life. Because I couldn't relate to anything he was talking about. But somewhere in my subconscious, I just knew that I was being lied to. And I just remember thinking, he has to be wrong.
We are not included in our curriculum.
No.
We sit in those classes, can't relate to anything. I remember being in like a human geography class, and there's no reason why someone should graduate from high school and still think Africa is a jungle. Like, that's just unrealistic, and that's a perception that a lot of black people have. And why is that? We know how beautiful all these other places are, these European places, but not one country in Africa was named as something beautiful.
I mean, I'm African, and I didn't get actual African American history until university level, when I was forced to take Intro to African American Studies. And being African, you're always told don't hang out with African Americans, don't involve yourself with them, you're different. So of course that's what I believed, and it wasn't until I took that course that I realized why African Americans are in the situation that they're in. And they don't talk about this beforehand,
But what about the N-word? Do they call each other that?
I hear that all day.
Nobody gets
Not
called.
from black people either. All day.
Yeah.
Hispanic kids.
Hispanic kids
saying
use
it.
the word more.
Yeah, more
Calling
than
black children that or
No,
calling each other?
each other.
Yeah,
It's
black children each
it's the
other.
new homie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do the black children do when they hear the Hispanic children calling each other
Nothing.
N-word?
They call him back. It's the new homie. I mean, in my high school, we always had like African American Heritage Month and and I think one other. And then some white children got upset. They were like, "That's not fair. We don't have a month of our own to celebrate who we are. We like our history too. We want to show our history too." So they stopped, and at that event, people from like 93.9 you would come and be in the audience. Some white kids complained, they took it away.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being it's really good, 10 being this thing is going to kill an African child and never be good, how bad are the curriculums as what they will produce in a black child? 10 being the absolute worst.
8, 9.
Just because of the self-esteem factor alone. Self-esteem has a
huge
impact on how you go about life. If you don't learn about your people in school, that you have very low self-esteem, and you're not going to be pushed to your maximum potential if you have low self-esteem. And so that's what all of our kids are suffering from.
They are demoralized. They have no self-esteem, no respect for themselves or each other. It is too easy to fall into the trap of being put on a medication, and then, well, if then something's wrong with me because they had to put me on a medication. It's damn near death sentence.
Yeah.
It's damn near death sentence.
Yeah.
First of all, every school that I go into, I'm one of 3 black men in the whole school, and the other 2 are custodians.
That's if you lucky.
If you lucky. It's 2 brothers that's always the custodian,
Yeah.
and then you have me. You have white homosexual teachers, you have white female teachers, and then you have black female teachers. Normally, the administrators, the assistant principal, the principal, dean, not the dean of students, because the dean of students is more like an enforcer, kind of what I do. but the assistant principal and the principal, by and large, are women.
And then we have to know who's teaching our children. And in the school system, we want to see more men as teachers because it's mostly a predominantly white occupation. But when we are getting the African American males, majority of them have, like, in my observation at my school, are homosexual men. And I can't imagine what's happening in those classrooms. Like when you have such a, like, an indirect influence on the teacher, just having that influence on kids, and so I don't know who they're teaching them in there. I can only imagine. There's so many homosexual men and women teachers just in my school alone. I can't imagine how many there are. But
So are you saying that it is abnormal to see a heterosexual black man
Yes.
who's married to a black woman teaching a black class?
yes,
Yeah,
very
I
rare.
think I ever.
And what I would say is the school climate and culture is everything. You don't see a lot of strong black males in the school system. And again, it's worse the younger you get. Early childhood is nearly non-existent. Elementary, you get a few more sprinkled in there. Middle school, a few more. High school, coach, he might be teaching wood shop or home ec, but you don't really see men like that because it's not a good climate for us to be in there.
Right.
And the research shows that the reason why a lot of men don't go into teaching is not for the pay. It's an altruistic profession. You're not going in there to get money. You're going in there because you want to make a difference. As the research shows that majority of black male educators go into high poverty schools, high minority schools, but the turnover is ridiculous because first things first, we can't discipline the children the way we want to discipline them. Oh, don't say that. Oh, you being too hard on them. Oh, don't raise your voice. Oh, don't. No, but see, you don't understand. I have masculine energy. When I come in and I want them to sit down, I tell them, sit down.
Right, that's right.
But you saying, oh, you being too harsh. Oh, you being too that. And they
Who's
play us.
saying that?
These
Who's
are
saying
administrators at this point. So at this point, for a black male educator, your number one foe or your number one stepping stone or challenge is going to be your administrators, not even your fellow colleagues. They usually don't have the heart or the courage enough to step to you.
So the
It'll be
administrators.
yeah. At this point. So at this point, for a black male educator, your number one foe or your number one stepping stone or challenge is going to be your administrators.
What are they usually made up of? Give me the race and the gender.
Well, if it's not a white man, it's usually a black female, a black woman. It's usually your administrator, your principal, your vice principal, your parent-teacher liaison more than likely will be a black woman.
Which one is going to give a strong black man more problems? And I want you to just be honest about it. Is it going to be a white male or a black woman?
Usually the white males, they do it behind the scenes. You end up with a 2-week notice. They're not going to step to you ever, really. It'll be, he'll get his Aunt Jemima, he'll get Big Mama, he'll get
black female.
Whoever female that comes through. That's his warden. That's how he runs his prison.
Same thing that
That's her warden.
slavery.
Yeah.
He
He'll
was
use a
always
strong,
afraid.
and she'll be
Wow.
more than likely she's a strong black woman. Actually, probably somebody you can kind of respect. You know, somebody you might seen around, and you're like, oh man, that's Miss So and so and so. But she's on an agenda that's not hers. It's his agenda. So she's coming down, sitting you down like mammy. But what she's saying out of her mouth, you like, you can't honestly believe that, do you? You can't be promoting that, are you? Like, please tell me that's not your thoughts.
So wait a minute, and the reason I gotta stop you is because we've had a lot of dialogue, you know, but one thing that has not come up, and this is, I didn't expect this, but this is important. What I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, is that black women are being used to protect this destructive educational environment for black children.
Okay, so let me be clear. Without the black woman, it can't exist. It will fall on its face. Without her help, without her being behind it, it will fall flat. They don't confront us. They don't come to our schools. They don't come into our counties. They don't come into our cities alone. They have to come with first her paving the way for them. Because genuinely being the lion that you are, you at him. And they cower. 9 times out of 10, they get red, they get upset, they might even cry, but they're not going to come at you as a man because that's not who they are. They come with their black warden. She's usually a strong black woman at that. Somebody who can communicate well. Somebody who you would say know the kids or know that's their line. I know these kids better than you. That's what they tell you as they disciplining you. They say, I know these are our kids, and you're new. I know you want to be a hot shot. I know you want to make a difference, but this is how we do things here. This is the standard. This is the standard. This is the objective, and that's what kind of tames you. After a while, if you don't leave immediately, you just spend most of your time stressed out about how you're going to do two things, and the two things is how am I going to maintain my manhood as I continue to teach this curriculum that I know is not good for our children. So it becomes personal now. Now you having trouble looking at yourself in the mirror because you know the curriculum is no good.
Right.
You know it's not beneficial to our children. Matter of fact, you don't only know that the curriculum is no good, you know that this is the enemy's curriculum. You know that this curriculum, the result of it is an effeminized black man or a masculinized black female. And it's a very interesting disciplinary-wise how they discipline our young girls versus how they discipline our young boys. Our boys can sneeze in the classroom and they get disciplined. Our young girls can touch one another, play with each other's, braid a girl hair who she's sitting in behind them, and they don't say nothing to them. But let a young man pass a note to his partner, or they pass some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or they just whispering and what are you doing? What do you know, they berate them. It's not just discipline, they abusing our young males specifically.
And there are two types of feminizations and masculinizations going on in the schools. You got chemical and you have social. The social emasculinization is, or the effeminization and emasculinization is, if a boy can't sit down, if he can't stay still, if he can't be quiet for a whole hour, if he can't stop fidgeting, if he can't stop banging his pencil, then he's a problem to the rest of the class. But 99.9% of the time, these referrals and these problems are coming from female teachers. Because a woman doesn't understand how a boy is. A woman doesn't understand how a boy functions, that's just normal behavior for a 6, 7, or 8-year-old who has testosterone, who is beginning to go through puberty. So I get called to a room and such can't sit down. And I'm like, are you serious? He's like this, and you ask him 50 times to sit up. Some boys, you can't just ask them to sit up or to sit down or to be quiet. Now girls on the other hand can do that for 5 hours. And there's no problem. There's a systemic targeting of black boys.
So in those classes where that happened, are those female teachers black teachers or white female teachers or both?
Both. Both. The majority of black women in the schools, even the ones that have sons, because when you're a teacher, supposedly when you're operating in this system of white supremacy with the miseducation curriculum, in order to make sure that you are continuing to perform or adhere to a certain standard, you have to effeminize and emasculate the boys so that you can achieve your goals as a teacher. So if he's sitting like this and he in the chair doing this math work, that's not good enough. If he's on the carpet, that's not good enough. If he like this, that's not good enough. If he like this, that's not good enough. If he's like this, it's not good enough. He has to be like this.
And who does that?
The entire time.
They not gonna
that's
do that.
that's
real man.
The kids not gonna do that.
And it's always the ones who are like this, or the ones that are like this, who's knocking out their history work before the rest of the class, the ones that are always being targeted. The one that's sitting there that's quiet, he's quiet because he don't know nothing. And because he doesn't know and understand the work and he's afraid to ask for help, he's not a problem child. But the one who is using his energy manifest to keep him interested in the work to do it, then after he does the work, because of the curriculum, you don't have a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th assignment to keep him on task. Now he's like, yo, he's bored to death. He's bored to death.
When I'm only 21, so I graduated high school in 2012, so that wasn't too long ago. And we always felt like we was in jail. The only difference is that we got to leave, basically, because the administrators were like the guards. The teachers were like, I don't know, they were a form of a guard too. And administration was pretty much, they were just like, it was like the oppressor was like constantly over you. Everything, like if you was a black male, you could literally do the same thing any white boy would do, but your punishment is automatically suspension.
Absolutely.
And it got to the point where there were some administrators that were more consciously aware, they would just start throwing the referrals out because the teachers would write a referral for anything. I got suspended because I laughed too loud. Anything that gets you out of the school, they try to push black youth out of school completely.
You know, so they don't want them to be thinkers. They don't want them to ask them why we still celebrate Columbus Day. They don't want them to ask why you never mention Native American history in a course called American History. They don't want to talk about why we only talk about black people for 2 weeks in February. They don't want to talk. They don't want them to ask those type of questions. Matter of fact, again, they get reprimanded and disciplined, saying they off task, or he's ADHD, or he's, what is it, oppositional defiant disorder? That sounds a lot like Drake Tomato. You want to be free. So something wrong with him. Because he's defiant, something wrong with him. You know, he's not just taking it from behind.
So here's my question. That's a loaded question. It's a loaded. I know I'm asking a loaded question. Nobody's upset in here now. Are the white females doing that because they just don't know how to deal with black youth, or are they systematically targeting our children for failure?
The system is targeting. It's not the teachers that are targeting. But they have been.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. That sounds good, but I don't know who Mr. System is, because she said that the white teacher is the one that made the decision, not the system. Because the system didn't decide that that boy would. So this white teacher that's doing it, I'm asking what the teacher's motivation is.
The teacher's motivation to keep her class is trying to keep 30 kids in the seat.
So you're saying it's not intentional?
I don't think most teachers go into the profession for good purposes. Most teachers do. I think when you got this many teachers and this many students.
You doing some jump jacks in here now. Wait a minute. I'm asking a direct question. I didn't ask nothing about the system and the matrix and the. I said, listen, since most of the individuals that are teaching the black boys are white females, and since they seem to pick black male children to be the ones that need to have Ritalin, my question is simple. Are those white females doing it on purpose with the objective of undermining and destroying black boys, or is it a mistake? Are they doing it by accident?
White teachers think that they're already doomed from the start, so they're
Think that who's already doomed?
Black boys are doomed from the start. So when they send them out or they do this, it's not they're not doing it, but it's just the world they live in. They don't have a future anyway. So I've seen teachers.
Their mindset is.
Yeah, like I'm not doing it. It's just
who they are.
world. They don't have a future. So I'm gonna send them to ALC, which is like in school jail, even though they haven't done anything. Because what does it matter anyway? So I've seen that with teachers that I work with. I said no, he has not done anything. We're not sending him to ALC. I went and got him from ALC, and he was like, no, that's not happening.
You heard or seen white teachers say, he hadn't done anything, but I'm gonna sit him there because his
future's
not
didn't turn in a permission slip, so he's gonna sit in ALC. I said, no, he's not.
Turn in a permission slip.
He didn't turn in a permission slip, so since he's not going, he can sit in ALC.
So you're saying that now, and we getting one. I got one answer now. What she's saying is, before the teacher even comes to the class, you're saying this white female said that black male children are hopeless, and I'm going to make sure that I help to destroy them by sending them in the direction of hopelessness.
Right.
So you're saying it's fully intentional. It's not no accident. They already don't believe in black children. All right. I want to hear what everybody else has to say, because everybody else is counting. Well, I mean, you know, see the magical strings of the environment, the racism, the planetosis kind of. I want to know if it's on purpose. Okay, well, let's go to the. Yes, sir.
I just put it like this. It would be unintelligent for a white female teacher to teach black male children to compete with their children. So since the person has multiple degrees, I'm going to assume they have some level of intelligence, and I'm going to assume that they're exercising that intelligence so that those children cannot compete on a level with their own children. Because we understand, if we look at the environment we're in today, people are complaining about people coming over from other countries and taking their jobs. Now, if you're complaining about people coming from other countries taking your job, Are you really going to educate people in this country that are already here, who speak the language, who know the culture, and have them compete with you to take the jobs that you already are complaining about and being taken by somebody else?
From other races.
That doesn't make any sense. So we have to assume, well, I'm going to assume, I just stand here by myself. you got one sister saying, no, I'm with you on that. You know what I'm saying? I want to speak for everybody at the table, that they're going to do the intelligent thing. And since the system is already set up in a way to maximize European children and to minimize everyone else, and of course African children are at the bottom of that totem pole, it would be silly of us to believe that they would not push that agenda and use every means that they can, but to do it in a way that people will sit here and like, I don't think they're doing it on purpose. One thing that happens to black people while we're in the condition we're in is we always find a way to try to make an excuse. It ain't all the white people. Well, George Zimmerman not really white, he's Hispanic. Or, well, you know, the boy that shot up the 9 people, I mean, you know, he was just crazy. Oh, well, he hated black people, but not all white people hate black people. Or the people that drugged James Byrd behind the truck, you know, they was drunk. I mean, we always come up with an excuse. But you notice that when other people do things, all black people are guilty.
Michelle Alexander wrote this book, The New Jim Crow, and it has a lot to do with the language that we're talking about and that the education system has been subject to as well. I just wanted to read something out of here that might be informative. She writes, what has changed since the collapse of Jim Crow has less to do with the basic structure of our society than with the language we use to justify it. In the era of color blindness, it is no longer socially permissible to use race explicitly as justification for discrimination, exclusion, and social contempt. So we don't. Rather than rely on race, we use the criminal justice system to label people of color criminals and then engage in all practices supposedly left behind. So the teacher is socialized in that same fashion, especially the white female teacher, to think of black men as criminals inherently. And so then they teach them in that fashion as such.
Okay, so let me ask you this. A very intelligent, aggressive, young black boy who's excited about learning, excited about life. He's in first grade, he goes in. He wants to ask a lot of questions. He's fast, he's sharp. What's going to happen to that 5-year-old boy? Yes, ma'am.
He's going to be put on red list.
But wait a minute, he's intelligent. So you see what's happening.
My child, my son.
So tell me why.
My son,
what the explanation is?
My son was hyper, excited, learned to read by the time he was 2. Hated books, but still, you know, robots, you know, engineering, all of that stuff. He gets to school. I still have the picture of him on the cover of Style magazine with 2 other children and the superintendent of public schools. He was the blur in the picture because he couldn't sit still. They told me to put my child on red alert. I didn't.
How old was he?
He was 5. He was 6.
He was 6.
First grade. I put him in science camp. I put him in math camp. Put him in music.
How old is he now?
24.
How's he doing in life?
He's in college, did 2 years on the church mission at 19. Works 3 jobs and goes to school full time.
Has he ever had any problem with school?
Nope.
The Ritalin situation, I was on Ritalin myself. And when my dad found out, he immediately took me off.
That's right.
Because he didn't feel as though I needed to be on that because I was not that type of person. I changed. My whole demeanor has changed when I was on Ritalin.
What grades were you on Ritalin?
I was in a Christian school, so that was like 6th, 7th grade.
And why did they say they were putting you on it?
Because I was the talkative person.
So you were talkative.
And I would always have to walk around. Like, I would finish my work first.
So you finished your work first. Did you get good grades?
Mm-hmm.
So you getting good grades, finish your work first. Did you ask a lot of questions?
Yep.
So you were the one that were bright. You had questions. You didn't just take what was said and everything like. And you were systematic.
And now
they
in
spot
school,
out
I'm
pretty.
quiet. Like, I'm always quiet because I'm afraid to raise my hand. I'm afraid to get a better understanding of what certain things, because when I was in school, when I did try to, answer questions, they would tell me, okay, I'll go to the next person.
So wait a minute. So you're saying, this is really honest, this is real talk. You saying because of them putting you on Ritalin and discouraging you from talking and asking questions and challenging things, you don't challenge things as much now.
And that's the long-term effects that she was talking about with her son, about not necessarily wanting to read as often.
When did you realize that long-term effect existed? When did you realize that?
When I went to college. Cause I went to a community college first, and I would ask questions, and then it's like people in the classroom, like they was like, oh, you got another question? I'm like, I need to understand. And then the teacher would say, well, I've already, gave you the information. Now you have to just go home and read the book. What? But I thought you were here to teach me.
No.
So whenever one says it's never a dumb question, every time I ask a question, it was a dumb question.
Yeah.
So now I don't question. I just okay.
I had that problem with my son, and my son, I just took him off of medicine because I had no idea, because I didn't do my research, and as a single mother, I just needed a solution, and I'm suffering from that. That's personal, but my son, he always had to tap the table, and I had to teach him to use his pencil and just tap it.
That's what I tell him.
So
you tell him that.
And I would literally get phone calls all day long about my son. They said he had ADHD and he was in this psych ward and that psych ward, and I knew my son didn't have a problem. He just had a lot of energy, and they were telling me that these things, and I was like, well, I don't think that's the case. But if you want to put him in this alternative class, and if that's going to help me, be able to stay at work and keep a job to raise my 2 children, then I guess that's what I had to do.
Let me ask you a question. When they asked you to do that, were you thinking more about it helping you going to the job, or did you really believe that it was going to help him, or did you know?
I knew it was not going to help my son. Okay. I knew that it was going to stop him from being who I knew he was. That's right. And
so you knew that, but you were like, I can't keep coming up here.
I didn't have, because I didn't know that I knew from seeing other children that it would just have them zoned out, and it was like crack. So I did not understand or know that it came with a long-term effect of, now I notice that he doesn't want to read as much, or he gets upset when it's story time at home, because like I said, I always taught my children at home, and now he gets upset. It's not Cordero, go get a book, it's time to read mommy a story. It's, I don't want to, I don't know this word, and he
wasn't like that before.
Was not like that before.
So you've seen a definitive change in your son's personality since he started using.
I did, and he had so much energy, and it was just like, it was a mess. He did all of the things that you said, but he was getting his work done. He could be done before anybody in his class.
He was going before everybody else.
Yeah.
How many years did you have him on the Ritalin or whatever drugs you had him on?
Well, he wasn't doing it in the summertime. He was just only doing it in school, and it was for a year. It was for the school year last year, and the end of the school year before that.
So 2 years.
Yeah.
2 school years.
But 1.5.
1.5 school years. What made you say, I can't do this anymore?
Well, I researched, and I was around AU and just African unification.
Okay.
Just getting a different knowledge, and people telling me, this is what's going on. This is, people telling me, that's in the school system, they're specifically targeting black boys for ADHD.
That's right.
And I knew nobody in my family has ADHD. And we're highly intellectual people, but it's just that my son was not complying with what they wanted him to do, sit up straight and
I want to go to answer. I think this is very important, and I'm not beating up you whatsoever, because we understand we all under attack. So please don't.
I don't feel any type of way.
I want to ask you this again, because I want people to hear this so we can understand the kind of position this stuff puts in. Single mother?
Single mother.
Okay, so you're taking care of your son, and you don't have time to keep taking off work and everything like that. But you, not because you've done research, but you just could look and say, my son doesn't need these drugs.
Right.
But in order for me to stay gainfully employed and to make life easier for yourself and to be able to keep paying for the bills and having a roof over your head, you said, I'll make the sacrifice of letting him do these drugs that I know are not good for him because they're putting this pressure on me because this will help me stay employed to keep a roof over his head.
Before I knew, it was just, I thought that he was just gonna be, I didn't know that it had long-term effects. I had no idea that, because I've seen kids with it, like I said, I just thought that it was gonna have them sit still in class.
Did you know what that meant? Did you know, okay, makes them sit still, did you know this is like doping them up, or did you didn't think that deep?
If I didn't think that deep, it was kind of like, okay, is this, like I was really put in a really bad position.
And they were pressuring you, or did you just feel pressure?
No, the school was pressuring me. He did the IEP. And
what is that? IEP?
The individual,
individual educational plan.
Right.
Which they don't follow.
Okay.
And he was 7 months past what his grade level was supposed to be. Right. And I sat there and I watched him do the IEP, and he was like Einstein with the IEP. And it hurt me because when he would come home, he just would not be the son that I knew. And because now I know, it hurt so bad because I knew that my son was one of those really special children that y'all don't know how to handle. He's smarter than this, he's brighter than this. But because dad isn't home, dad fell for the trick, and now I have to do this alone, I didn't have options and I didn't have knowledge of what this would do to my son.
Now let me ask you, because you just brought that up. If dad was there, do you think dad would have allowed them to put him on rhythm?
Never. No. He wouldn't even got to that point. Never.
Yeah.
We would have never gotten to that point. Dad
wouldn't have had it.
Was an alpha male.
Wouldn't have had it whatsoever.
At all. My son, well, he doesn't go to the school anymore. He went to a school in West Baltimore where his teacher was not his principal was not of African descent, and neither was his teachers.
What ethnic background or race were they?
I couldn't tell what his principal was, but he was not. His teachers were. And he had one black teacher, and she was a woman.
Okay, how old was he then?
He was 7.
Okay, so that's 3rd grade?
Yeah, 3rd grade.
He was
second or 3rd grade? 3rd grade.
He was in 3rd grade?
Yeah, 3rd grade. So I just was having problems with him in school, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. He was like, Mom, I'm getting into fights, and his principal's calling me, his teacher's texting me. And I'm like, okay, so let me go up to school. They didn't suspend him, but they were saying, oh, he keeps fighting on the boys in the class, and he's fighting at lunch, and he's fighting in the hallways. I'm like, why is my son fighting? That's not him to just, because he's a really relaxed kid. He's a laid-back kid. And so when I went up to school and I had the parent-teacher conference with the principal, and my son, he said, well, your son is getting into fights. And I'm like, well, what's going on that, he's keep getting into fights? He's like, because boys keep touching me, they keep hitting me in my private area or grabbing my private area. I said, well, what is that? And the teacher says, oh, Miss Johnson, that's just a game called, that the boys are going around playing, called Nutsies. They do it all the time.
Called what?
Nutsies. And I looked at the principal, I'm like, what is this? What kind of game is this? He said, oh, boys are boys, boys are gonna be boys, they're just going through something, they're going around either hitting each other, your son's hitting other kids probably, and the kids are hitting him or grabbing his growing area. And I said, well, that's not a game to me. And my son is fighting these children because he's defending himself. So why are we here? Why are y'all not doing anything to stop this if it's going on and all the little boys are doing it? And I said, as the teacher, you just in the classroom and you allowing this to happen. Mm-hmm. It was fine for the teacher. It was fine for the principal, but it was not fine for me, and it was not fine for my son.
So I just want to, because Like this sounds almost supernatural. So you're telling me there was nobody at the school who sympathized with the fact you didn't think it was appropriate for boys to be grabbing each other's private parts?
No, they just said boys will be boys, and boys, that's how boys play, and they do it all the time, and that just was a norm for them that they allowed in their school. Nobody protested. It was not an issue. They didn't even suspend them, so it was like, it was kind of saying, okay, that's fine for you to go around and do that, and you're not being punished or reprimanded for your actions.
As of being an educator in a middle school, I see that these kids already know what they're into, what sexual orientation they are. We have the female bullies, the lesbian bullies that take girls into the bathroom and like force themselves onto one another and on the school bus, making threats.
What happens, what do the girls do that are getting threatened? Do they report it?
It may be like of a friend that knows what's happening. Sometimes the girls are too afraid to say something. It's rare when a person who's being bullied or a child who's being bullied has the courage to say something, because as you can imagine in middle school or going to administration and saying, this girl's bullying me. You already have enough peer pressure as it is, and you don't want to be labeled as a snitch or a tattletale or anything like that.
So here's my question.
This is my first year being a teacher in the school system. So I'm not in the district, I'm actually in Maryland. And the majority of the kids in the school, my school goes from kindergarten, pre-kindergarten to 6th grade. One of the few elementary schools that still go up to 6th grade. And most of the parents are 2 moms. The majority of parents coming to school, whether they have more than one child or not, they have 2 moms. A lot of my children have 2 moms.
You mean lesbians?
Yeah. Even though they might have a younger brother and an older brother, like she might have 3 kids, but she comes to pick up the school with her woman. I don't know how that works out, but her partner. Yeah, and especially with the young men, they seem like they're rebelling. Like they're rebelling against all of it. So the fact that your son is fighting and stuff like that, that's a good sign to me. It's when they stop fighting, that's the problem.
There are games that people know about in middle schools and high schools. When they'll take a young, pretty freshman girl, they'll run up on in the locker room and say, "You gonna get down with this?"
Boys?
Boys and girls. Girls. Run up on girls, and boys will run up on the boys. And then the next thing you know, you got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and then by next semester, you walking around with sports bras sagging your pants, and all of a sudden you got
you really with it.
And now you with it.
So you're saying girls are getting forced and intimidated into lesbianism?
Yeah, they know that it's happening, and there's no suspension, because this particular ideology and death style is being promoted. It's being slid under the table, and it's protected by the law.
So wait a minute. So you're saying, even though we have a culture or a country that says gangs are wrong, and that gang is criminal behavior, if it's a homosexual gang and they're homosexual lesbians are terrorizing young, straight, impressionable black girls, that the young black girl has nowhere that she can go with legal protection to prevent this from occurring.
If she does, nothing will probably happen because they're homosexual.
So what happens if a heterosexual black student goes and picks on a homosexual black student?
It's bullying, it's assault,
expulsion,
and it's expulsion. It's a hate crime.
You could get a court date as well, depending on the age of the child. You will be seeing that judge.
Okay, so now let me reverse it. In these cases we're talking about, what happens when the homosexual children are doing something to the heterosexual children? Homosexual children say, "Hey, he's playing nuts and he grabbed me on my private part." What happens?
That's her son.
Nothing happens.
So bullying only applies in one direction. So the homosexuals, by law, are allowed to bully the heterosexual children into homosexuality. They're protected by.
It's called victim blaming. It's the same thing with Mike Brown. Darren Wilson shoots him to death, but it's Mike Brown's fault somehow. It's Trayvon Martin's fault somehow. They apply the same thing with homosexuality and when dealing with us.
You put him in 2015.
Okay, we put him in kindergarten.
So they put him in kindergarten in 2015. Between 0% chance they're not gonna be gay, or 100% chance that in 12 years they're gonna be gay.
It's different for girls.
Or they'll try. For some reason or another.
They end up trying it, which is the same thing.
Girls is probably like 80. I say it's 80% for girls.
We're coming to behavior problems. They're going out of their way to
you
be
see
like,
some of the straight ones hanging out with the gay ones, and it's hard to tell. Like even if you just go down gallery place, like, you don't know which one. Like, are you? I mean, you look like a straight male, but then you have this.
I can't tell anymore.
Nah, that's the problem.
But see, it becomes acceptance. So it's like, oh, these are my friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a straight man. Like, you know, I like to talk to girls.
But this is my gay friend.
But this is my gay friend here. We hang out.
But let me ask you a question now. Then is it standard to say that the standard for our sons 18 and under is that they see having a homosexual friend? If he's a male and he has a homosexual male friend, that's okay?
It is acceptable for them.
I would say
In that generation, they do that. They do it frequently.
The generation that's coming up after this one, that's going to be.
That's what they do.
Yeah,
High school is the balance.
most high school ages is middle and high school.
Middle high.
If they've had that trauma and went through all of those emotions in elementary school, middle school just flames it, and high school just you find in yourself, and it's okay for. You can choose. It's like going to a candy store and you in there and you get to choose and nobody cares what you get.
What's the battleground for our children now? Where's that line that says if we don't get them, they gone? What's the age?
Kindergarten.
Well,
early childhood.
We gotta get these
However young you think it is for kids to start watching television?
They watch it out the womb now.
Exactly.
So that's where we start.
So that's where you start. So that's the first thing that teaches you anything of white supremacy is teaching.
Have we lost?
When we were talking about how the numbers for the women and how the numbers for the women are much higher than it is for the men. And
the numbers for what?
For the percentage of young women coming out of high school and have had some kind of, either they're gay or they've been there and then turned back. But it comes full circle because earlier when we talked about how one of you all said that, you know, if the black woman is not behind it, it falls on its face. But if she's already introduced to that thing comes full circle. It comes full circle because she's like, oh well, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. But if she goes
participating and been involved,
she's already been there. So that stuck out to me, and most of the time when we talk about, you know, homosexuality, the resistance comes from the black women. Nobody fights anti-homosexuality like black women do, and it's the saddest thing ever, I feel. But because women set the standard, not only are we going to have to understand the homosexual agenda and how it plays on our people, but we're going to have to begin to hold the line against it. Because, like one of my brothers said, you know, it will literally fall on its face if we're not behind it the way that we are. And with that, straight black pride.
It's like they're trying to make you accept something that is that you could tell isn't right. And because you're forced to accept something that is wrong, by you being right, you get in trouble for it. And that's the way things are going now. It's like wrong is right, and right is now becoming wrong.
So is homosexuality now like some kind of premise of white supremacy?
Basically, it's like a justification. It's a new justification.
It's the most effective.
And it is the most effective.
It's cool to be a homosexual. There are certain privileges and protections from the law.
And Anne Arundel County is also the same county where, flash forward out of high school, I'm at AACC, which is a community college of that county. And I'm hosting an event. I'm the president of the Black Student Union at the time. And me and my professor, Dr. Williams, we're trying to host an event. And we invited Dr. Umar Johnson to come speak about institutionalized racism. Nothing about the LGBT, nothing about homosexuality, none of that garbage. He came to talk about institutionalized racism. But since it was Dr. Umar Johnson, we all know his position with the whatever community of homosexuals. Since we know his position, and when they figured that out, they straight went above me, above my professor, canceled the event. But the reason that happened is because a gay white male professor who got word from one of his gay black male students about who Dr. Umar Johnson really is, as far as the gay black male was concerned. And that white man pretty much, he had it, he flipped. And he sent emails to everybody in administration. Turns out, as my professor told me later, the president of AACC is a lesbian white woman. And every president prior to her, including the white males, were all gay. And they've been maintaining a grip on the homosexual power within that college. And the black studies courses have always had a problem getting on the curriculum. And that's because they've been holding it down since day one.
So wait, tell me what relationship black homosexuals have to undermining black education for black children in black schools, or in schools, period.
They put their lifestyle above their race. They don't understand that it don't matter what a white person is. White people will never accept us. They don't care who you are. If you say that you're also gay, white people don't care. They're gay racists. But
why would the homosexuals want to teach against Pan-Africanism and black nationalism?
Because Pan-Africanism and black nationalism, in its essence, is the only ideologies black people have ever accepted that cannot have homosexuality whatsoever. It's impossible. You cannot be a Pan-African and be gay. It's not possible, because the whole foundation of Pan-Africanism and black nationalism is building a nation. You can't build a nation if you ain't producing the children necessary to build that nation, to hold that nation. Therefore, you must have masculine men,
that's right,
feminine women who are having children.
That's right.
They are aware of that. Gay whites are aware of this, and they use gay blacks to undermine that, because the foundation of Pan-Africanism, you cannot intercept it or infiltrate, because at that point then it's going to be obvious that someone's trying to take us down. Because if someone brings up the question, if I'm the leader of a Pan-African group and we have a meeting and we have some new members from out of nowhere and they're asking us about whether or not we are going to allow homosexual members, then those are going to be members that are not going to be in the group. Because at that point, if you allow that, then that means you're no longer Pan-African.
So let me ask you a question. This is real serious. We got an individual named, he calls himself Ghazi Kojo. He's a flaming homosexual, very open about that. And there's an organization called the Uhuru Movement. Now, the Uhuru Movement is a national one. They're based out of Florida. And Chairman Yashitel is running it. And they actually take Ghazi Kojo to black students sitting around, children, and have this homosexual who, it's obvious, he's not like he's openly homosexual. And he's promoting he holds a red, black, and green flag, and he's presenting himself as a Pan-African and black man.
Ain't no good. In my hood. Ain't no good. So don't arrest me. Arrest the police. I say 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 don't arrest me.
So my question, are you saying that when that's happening to the children, first of all, is that acceptable? And two, how dangerous is it for people to be using the red, black, and green flag to present to black children homosexuality?
It is in essence what Pan-Africanism is. The moment it enters, if a white person is holding the RBG flag, it ain't RBG no more. It's just a random color coordination. Because in a white person's hand, it means nothing. In a gay black person's hand, it means nothing. The foundation of what Marcus Garvey created was for the nationalism of our own group. And he did that in the spirit of African spirituality, which was never homosexual. That behavior started from the Greeks and the Romans, and the chemists were not having it.
But to go with the chemical also is, have you checked this out? Lunch. You cannot bring outside lunch to school without a doctor's note.
Wait a minute.
You have to eat the school food.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. The only thing I gotta interject here, because you just said something. Years ago, I was at a Dr. Frances Cress Welton. She every second or third Thursday she does a free thing over here at Howard.
Yeah.
I never forget. This sister told me that the Pentagon offered, it was in schools in Southeast, elementary school. The Pentagon offered, and they accepted the school to give free lunches to the students. And she said that she noticed that every day after school, after lunch, the children were just
off the chain.
Off the chain.
Straight up.
So you're saying that still happens now?
Oh yes. My job is almost impossible after lunch. After lunch is recess. So then they go from lunch to recess, and to get them back in the building, to get them ready for dismissal. That's all I'm doing after recess, is getting them ready for dismissal. I have to be.
Do you think it has anything to do with the food?
I know it has something to do with the food because I ate some of the food, and I was like, this ain't food. What is this? Everything is salty, everything is sugary, and if it's not, it's totally tasteless, and it tastes like mush, and it makes you feel bad, quite frankly. They always ask them to go to the nurse after lunch. They always have to use the restroom after lunch. It's just a problem. Their body is not breaking down whatever they've been given too well. There's always milk. If it's not milk, it's orange juice. Now, orange juice is cool, right? But orange juice has a lot of sugar in it. So there's apple juice and grape juice. That's the only alternatives to white milk, chocolate milk, strawberry milk. The only alternative to white milk, chocolate milk, strawberry milk is grape juice, apple juice, orange juice. And this is not Tropicana or Naked. This is there. It's wherever the school gets it in bulk from.
So it's possible, and I don't know the answer to this, but it's possible that these same multinationals that feed the prison systems on this low, poor stuff is coming into our schools.
Yeah, it's the same people. It's literally the same company. Yeah. So that's Cineplate, all of these hospitality management companies.
Say that. I want to make sure that everybody gets this. So wait a minute. You're saying for sure that the same institutions that feed the black males that are in prison
feed our children.
Are feeding black boys and girls in the inner city schools.
In schools, yes.
Starting from kindergarten, and I kind of work with young kids like that. The food that they bring into the system are overpumped with estrogen. So to only speak about the social aspects of it is kind of cutting, most of the beginnings out. Right. When you start off in kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, that type of thing, the baby foods and that type of thing, and the fruits and vegetables that they feed them are chemically causing homosexual thoughts, homosexual actions.
Degenerate.
In general. Yeah. And then, like y'all was talking about as far as the social aspect, that just reinforces it. When you get a situation where you have a big group of effeminized boys, and like you said, if you drop a regular heterosexual male in, they're impressionable. Plus the chemical changes. Well, if you put them in now, you got a serious.
So you saying what's the
change?
Okay,
you're not gonna have kidding.
And not everyone has that option to do something about it. I'm in an area where there are no Afrocentric schools. Single mother, so I have to work. I have no choice. I do not have the option of homeschooling my children.
We haven't created other options for each other as far as developing our own schooling, our own teaching apparatus. We haven't done anything. We haven't laid the groundwork or the foundation for us to move forward, and it speaks badly on us in a lot of ways.
If that 60 percentile pass rate of that European misinformation doesn't come out of that classroom, she's out of a job.
So you have to miseducate your children in order to stay in gainfully employed. Now,
first of all, school is just behavior modification. What they want to do is, and this is what the Common Core is a reflection of, they want better workers for their workforce. This school is not about making them strong black men or strong black women. They trying to have a more educated, a more efficient workforce. Capitalism is efficient. It doesn't care about philosophy, ideologies, nor culture. If it's not a corporate culture, they don't care about the culture. They want the children to be able to spew back information that was force-fed them.
This is a student who was recruited for and told the brother that I know, before he heard anything about what the work we were doing, he said the brother told him that the FBI came, and this is a fact, the FBI did come, but the brother told him what he told him. He said the FBI told them, we're recruiting black people to take over the black Pan-African groups, all black groups, and to promote homosexuality. And he told them we wanted to put homosexuals in charge of these things.
See,
and they are, if you pay attention.
From my perspective, being 21, if you was born after like 92, you just entered a whole new world.
Yeah, no, that's real. No, he's speaking real time.
Like, just look at the cartoons they watch.
And what I grew up watching is not the same thing that my little cousins grew up watching.
These cartoons got form figures,
penises out the mouth, and all kinds.
It's like the rainbow coming out the butt.
The rainbows coming
out the butt.
But either way, Disney's been doing it for the longest.
But now it's like more Before you
in your
couldn't
face.
see it unless somebody showed it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if you have an eye to see it,
You
right
was like,
there in
it's
front of you.
everywhere.
It
And
don't
then they
have
say
to
something
be
wrong with you.
explained,
We like,
man.
no, it's right there.
So we gotta talk about the solutions now, because it's getting dismal. It's like getting darker out.
Yeah, you're right though.
Wait a minute, okay. So
This helps.
do you increase the likelihood or decrease it by sending them to public schools?
Increase.
Significantly or a little bit?
When I was in middle school, there was
I'm for totally a mass exodus of all black children from the public school system.
It's essential that we not only separate at some point, but the parents have to be involved in the kids' school at all times and be there and engage and know what's going on in the classroom. And until we get to a point where we can educate our own.
So my only option is to stay involved with the school. When my kids were younger, I was the PTA president. I was in that school every week. Job be damned, I was there. I couldn't give up my job, but I was there. I was involved in their school all the time, from birth on, and stayed involved. Parents tend to trickle off their involvement with schools as their children get older. It gets dangerous in middle school. That's when you really, really need to get more involved.
I come from a social work perspective. I've been in these homes and we've done trainings with children. That's where you can actually implement those kind of things. With the parents' permission, you can do that kind of thing. And so if we had more conscious social workers or conscious counselors and psychologists, that's kind of where we can embed our curriculum and the Black love factor, healthy relationships between men and women in that way. So you all can take care of the academics, and social workers and things can take care of like the relationship and counseling aspect also.
I feel like the sense of when we do have an all-black school for our kids, that we will see that these employers that are investing in us, they will see, well, if this black man, this conscious man is doing this, I can also do this too, while going to this school. And it's putting into the mind that they're saying like, well, if he can do it, why can't I do it? If I'm learning the environment and putting it in front of me, I feel like it's going to be a better chance for me to build for my family, build for me, and for whatever I have to do in my future.
So then what is the first step in providing different alternatives?
Independent schools.
Providing an option. Providing an
They would have to
outlet.
have all see what's wrong with it.
Well, so how do we start there? So would everybody agree we gotta have our own school system?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let's define our own. Is it fair to say it can't just be just black people doing it? It has to have some rules.
Yeah.
So would it be would being anti-gay and not accepting homosexuality, would that be part of the school system? I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. I'm asking.
Yeah.
I think
There are people
That's
who are with that.
How definitive would it be? Would it be like absolutely? It didn't
No, zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance.
They got enough of that.
They
Why
have
would
zero
you even
tolerance with
call
our
them?
children.
You know?
Okay, so it would be a straight school.
That's
choice.
right.
How important would it be to only have black students, or would it be allowed to have all different type of diversity, or how much diversity?
What do you mean?
Would you have black students and Hispanic? and
No,
white?
we need all black students because they got all white schools and they got
What about teachers? Okay, so hold on. Do we agree that it would have to be all black students?
all black teachers, staff,
Black
all
administrators?
black,
Okay.
all black everything.
So we got a black hole. So the education got to be black.
That's
Okay.
right.
So then
curriculum gotta be
the curriculum got to be, the books got to be, the pages got to be black.
No more white paper.
Black doors. The doors got to be black. Black windows. Okay.
That's right. So they won't see what we
The
do.
baseboard is black. Okay,
They
so
can't
look.
see through.
So then.
So, like people that are in this type of room, in this type of environment, this type of the group that y'all in, the AU, African Unification,
African Unification.
that those type of entities will have to be the first ones to start funding it, to get the building, to get the foods, to get the education piece out from the very beginning, and then it just kind of spreads from there. Their children, our children's friends, you get them, and
Your cousins.
and you know what I'm saying.
There's an institution here in Washington, D.C. that's been here almost 50 years. You know, if you're not supporting the Bible, when he disappears and the school's no longer there.
Well, you gotta tell us who.
Baba Zulu, Ujima Shule over on 8th and T, Northwest. In fact, it's walking distance from here, actually. Baba Zulu's been doing work for 47 years. Educating African children. When you have something right there, you gotta support it. If you're in Atlanta, and Baba Barudi's right there educating African children,
a Coben House,
Coben House. If you're not supporting it, you're part of the problem.
We're irresponsible. We're irresponsible. If we really cared about our kids, we would be dedicated to educating them. We wouldn't have to send them anywhere. We would send them to the black school who's teaching the black curriculum. It's just irresponsible on our end.
If we're still sending our kids to these schools knowing that this is happening, then we don't care enough.
We don't care enough.
No.
What does that mean? If we don't care enough about our own children to remove them from an environment that we know is designed to destroy them.
Yes. I don't think we care enough about our own children. You have to do something about it. If you don't want to subject your kids to that, you do something about it.
Yes, thanks AJG and Straight Black Pride for giving us the time and opportunity to have this discussion. Me, myself, I don't have any children, so knowing that this is going on is frightening to me, and I need to be able to be around people that actually, when I do choose to have children, that I know if I'm around these type of individuals, I'm comfortable that at least I have a direction that I can take with my children instead of putting them into the same environment that we've all been subjected to for so long.
I just want to thank African Unification for coming out. I've enjoyed meeting you all and working with you all so far, and hope that this will continue. And as far as this issue, this is really one of the #1 issues on the table, and the fact that you will come out and stand strong on it, I appreciate that, because realistically, people have decided to attack our children directly. And if we do not defeat that attack, the battle is lost. It's point blank. So anytime someone comes out to do work on an issue like this that most people want to run from, want to hide from, don't want to speak on, act like it's not taking place, you have to applaud those people for standing up and being true warriors in this battle. So I just want to say thanks.
And I want to thank African Unification and the Straight Black Pride movement for collaborating on the effort. You know, these hip hop generations that we collaborated on a whole bunch of stuff. It was a weed smoke out or something like that. There've been thousands of people. But you know, when it comes to black people collaborating on something that actually is going to do something for our community, we don't see it enough. And we consider African Unification a brother-sister organization. And we look forward to doing a lot more work with this fantastic movement and organization in the future.
I think it was Brother Miles Cambone said, the first one to the mind is the winner.
Yes, it is.
And so, those of us who claim to be nationalists and understand the system, we claim that we're weight, claim we got knowledge, and all, you have all these people running around claiming all these labels, they work, they this and that. But it's a difference between just waking up and being wide awake. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad made that distinction. If we're wide awake, when you first wake up, you kind of roll around the bed, you look for the alarm. You trying to figure out what day it is, I got to go to work today, what's going on. But when you're actually up and awake, you're doing things. So what the brother's asking, the answer is those of us who claim to be nationalists have to produce tangible, real things for black people.
I think that's what we're saying too.
I'm for totally a mass exodus of all black children from the public school system, and I'm down.
Let's organize. I'm taking what's right from the body, y'all. Liberation time, y'all. Freedom today in body, y'all. I'm gonna kill till I get it, y'all. Get it, 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 get it. I won't stop until I find. Yeah, I gotta get mine. I gotta get mine. Yeah, freedom today is mine for the taking. I gotta
name of this song is Freedom. It's a play off of the word freedom, implying to free your mind. So I hope you guys like it.
Now the light shines, revealing your lies, and I see myself through brand new eyes. How long do you think you can write us out of history? How long do you think you can call us a minority? What you have and do ain't new. My ancestors paved the way. We existed well before your cave dwelling days. All I had to do was look, and then I found the truth. In the truth I found me, and in me I got free. Oh, I've been trying so long, wrong, then I don't wanna be right. If I can't be myself, man, I'd rather just die. As a child, believed the unseen, my faith in mystery. Closed my eyes, revealed the pain of insistent questioning, but answers never logical. See, reborn myself at 19, cut the invisible strings. My melanin protects me like an ancestral sunscreen, so let me be E-F-R-E-E. I recognize that my enemy uses hate to disguise that he wants to be me. Black people know thyself, trace your history. Before slavery, we were kings and queens, so claim superiority. It's time to wake up and no longer be blind. It's time to break the chains they placed upon our minds. By controlling our minds, they don't worry about what we do. 'Cause controlling our minds means they control our actions too. Refuse to be a victim of their mental attacks. Take your power back today, and you'll be on your way.
Y'all give Sister Josina a strong black hand. Yeah.